13 straight by Vanderbilt's a lot. They've been a terrific program, really solid. You know, one of the better basketball brands in the SEC historically. And I've just had no success against them here at Auburn. I think Luke Cornett was a guy that seemed to have some of his best games against us. Talk about an unbelievable rim protector, and gosh, I just thought he was such a great player for them and developed over the course of his career. And of course, you know, this being my fourth season, this is Riley LeChance's fourth season, Roberson's fourth season. I've seen those guys a lot, and they're terrific. You know, LeChance is a lot, you know, a lot like Bryce in the sense that he's a tough cover, and deadly from three, and gets to the foul line, and just got a lot of experience. And then Roberson's a lot like DeSean, a little bigger, but a very tough matchup. You know, stretch you defensively, and Bryce Drew they do a real good job spacing the floor, and they get to the rim. They do a great job with the three ball, both the inside three ball, getting to the rim, and the outside three. They're second in the league in three-pointers attempted. So, you know, once again, it's a great opportunity. They've beaten Alabama, they've beaten TCU, they've beaten LSU. They had Kentucky beat Tuesday night at Rupp. Their strength of schedule is 4. They've played the toughest. I think they played the toughest road schedule of anybody in the country. If you look at, you know, some of their games, and so, they've got 2 McDonald's All-Americans in the waiting for next year. So this is one of the better basketball programs in the SEC, and it's an important game for us on Saturday.
Could you have imagined opening February with a 2-game lead in the SEC?
Well, you know, the way I look at a 2-game lead in the SEC is we're 1 weekend out of 5th. That's how I look at it. Now, maybe that's the Lou Holtz in me or something, I don't know, but we grind and we prepare one at a time, and I mean, I keep an eye on the teams that are behind us and how they're doing, and I'd be disingenuous if I didn't tell you that, you know, Georgia beating Florida the other day. I mean, who do you root for, Georgia or Florida, right? You want them both to lose, but Florida's on, you know, a little closer to our heels right now, and so it helps. You know, Missouri got a great win over Alabama last night, a team that's right on our heels. So, you know, as far as the position that we're in, we're trying to take advantage of the position where we're not reflecting on it. We've worked hard to put ourselves in this position, and so just talk a little bit about the roster. You know, Jared has been, you know, I had said a few years ago that Jared would be worth the price of admission, that people would want to, they'd pay just to come see him play because of his dynamic ability, his size, his speed, his quickness, his toughness, his ability to make plays. And he's a really dangerous player, a really competent player, great coach on the floor. And he's defining his success this season by our team's success. I mean, he could score a lot more, but if he needs to score, he'll score. If he needs to make threes, he'll make threes. If he needs to get guys the ball, which he's been doing all year long, he'll do that. He could shoot a better percentage. He could finish the rim better. I'd like to see that, but and he's defending better. He's fully engaged defensively. Gives up a lot of effort to be able to do that. And then DeSean coming in behind him and playing off the ball has been really valuable for a freshman like DeSean to be able to come in and maintain control of the team, but then also demonstrate that he's one of the better defensive guards in the league. Now, the other night at Ole Miss, he got a couple fouls. He got 3 fouls in the first half, and a couple of them were actually because he was simply able to put his body in between his man and wherever that man was going, and he got called for a couple blocking fouls. And you know, with the rules being what they are, I understood the calls. It weren't that they were bad calls, but not many guys could put themselves in a position that, you know, DeSean did and actually think that really wasn't a foul because it was contact and he was there. He was able to beat the guy there. But then when he got in foul trouble, his ability to impact the game wasn't going to be there on defense, and then that bothered him a little bit, and he can't worry about that. So we're getting, you know, and then I'll finish with, you know, I'll just talk about guards here for a second, but, you know, Bryce is, he's got a great confidence. He's not afraid to fail. Obviously, our team has confidence in him. The fact that he does work so hard defensively and is just, he's a stopper, you know, his man, I guarantee you that no matter who I put on him, they'd prefer to be guarded by somebody else. I mean, that's how good a defender he is. Now, all of our guards have improved defensively, and they've all worked hard at it. And then, you know, Mustapha's efficiency. You've seen the last couple games him shoot with great rhythm and freedom. And you know, Bryce and Mustapha, they're different, but in many ways at the next level, they're 3-and-D guys. They're 3-and-D guys, guys that can make the three ball and defend. And again, Mustapha's working really hard on his defense. He's got to cover more versatile guys because he's sometimes guard inside and out, and obviously rebounds the ball well for his position and gets to the foul line and is able to show great leadership. And then Malik Dunbar is just he's a dangerous weapon in the sense that he is capable of knocking down shots and making plays at the rim, and he's again working hard to improve defensively and guarding smaller guys and stuff like that. So being able to have Malik come off the bench, whether it be in foul trouble, having to play a little bit more, or whatever it is, it's just a great asset to be able to have him come off the bench and not drop off. So our 5 guards, I think, have obviously been playing well.
Bruce, I was going to ask you about Mustapha's defense. I almost think, out of necessity, he's had to get better at it, because it seems like opponents have tried to isolate him one-on-one constantly. What have you seen in his progression defensively?
Well, I mean, Mustapha wants to be a pro, and he's always wanted to be. He trains like a pro. He carries himself like a pro. And he knows that the only way he's going to get there at the highest level is the fact that he can be an asset defensively. And, you know, as a high school player, he was a dominating offensive player, and, you know, was never really placed in schemes. You know, you place your best player, you put him on the team's worst player, and you hide him. And for us, we just don't do that. So his ability to close out, keep his man in front. Defensively, Mustapha absolutely knows where to be and when to be there. He's one of our better communicators. He understands defense. He's got stuff defensively that you can't teach, or that's hard to teach. So as a result, we're better with him out there on the floor defensively because he really understands our defense and communicates actions to get us in the right spots. And then just one-on-one, you know, being able to be pressed up on smaller players, guards, quicker guards, and be able to keep them in front. That's the great challenge for a man his size who, you know, it's 6'5" or 6'6", and, you know, to ask him to guard Jets, to ask him to guard guys like Jared, which he's going to get switched off to. That's a lot to ask, but that's what he's and that's an area he's improved on.
It's one thing for DeSean Murray to grab 7 or 8 rebounds in the Big South, but for a 6-foot guy to do this in the SEC, has that surprised even you at all, seeing him practice for a year?
No, I mean, we thought that DeSean could do the things that he could do. We knew he was going to be such a difficult matchup. He plays so big, but he understands how to use his body, whether it be defensively to be able to seal, beat guys to the spots. He can guard guards and bigs. That's the beauty about DeSean is he keep you in front. So can Chuma. And that's a great asset to have that foreman that can play power, play inside, be big enough, strong enough to not get abused in there and actually, you know, be effective, but then go out on the perimeter. You're going to have to guard Roberson, and I guarantee you Vanderbilt will do some things to switch those guys off of him and create a matchup that Roberson can take advantage of if they can find it. you know, and rebounding wise, he knows how to use his body. So he'll check you out every time the ball gets shot, because for his entire life he's had to check out when the ball got shot, otherwise he couldn't rebound. And the best position rebounders are small guys. You know, you go play down at the Y, and the guys that are the best position rebounders are the littlest guys on the floor, because they've had to do that their whole life, and they know how to seal. By the same token, it's what makes him a great offensive rebounder. He knows how to seal. He knows where the ball's coming off. He gets into you before you get into him. He initiates the contact. He's entitled to his position, and then he holds off the backside. And then he's got a different level of explosion. Like Charles Barkley. Like a Charles Barkley, he can elevate and play bigger than 6'3", or Charles played bigger than 6'5".
Bruce, addressing the rest kind of on a meta scale, not just you guys, but why is it, do you think, this year in college basketball that the top teams don't have one-and-dones? The Villanova, Virginia, Purdue, you guys, I mean, there's plenty of teams, top teams at the top of power conferences, and Nova, who's probably the best team in the country, that there is not a good one-and-done player on these teams. And there may not be a first-round draft pick on it.
Yeah. Well, that's because they're all at Duke and Kentucky. So, you know, that's where they all go. They all go there, or most of them do. And so Duke and Kentucky are both great teams, but right now they're not maybe ranked as the top 3 or 4 teams. And then, of course, what you're seeing in us as far as the maturity and the growth and the development, the trust, the understanding, the commitment, the discipline, the resilience, the grit, all that stuff takes time. You just can't, it's hard to do it in one and done. And, you know, Coach Calipari and, Coach K have, both been blessed and to be able to, the 2 strongest programs in the country. And so how many one and dones are there every year? There are 10 or so. Well, 4 or 5 go to Kentucky and 4 or 5 go to, Duke, and a couple go to Kansas, or, whatever it is. And it takes them, a while through the season to be able to see if they can get there, knowing that they are enormously more talented and have tremendous more size than some of those teams. Purdue's got great size. So when you watch Purdue, how do you guard them? I mean, they just play so well together. We played them last year, and we were down 2.5, I think. And they had a lot of pieces, even though they lost Solinger. So all I'm saying is you're seeing the experience of Villanova, the experience of Purdue, and those teams, and our experience obviously is we have, it was the other day, I corrected myself the other day. We actually had 8 guys returning. Because I look at DeSean Murray as a guy that returned. He was in our locker room last year. He was at practice last year. He was witness to not finishing games, making free throws, not ending possessions with rebounds, not having floor balance because we took too many hush shots. And we worked hard to cure all those things. And those 8 guys that returned spent all summer and fall, working on that. And of course, 6 of them are out there playing every night.
With just how undersized you guys are compared to pretty much everybody else you face, how important has it been to have a guy like Anthony who can still protect the rim at such an elite level?
I mean, it's huge what both Anthony and Horace are able to do, holding down the inside. I tell you what, take a look at the matchup with Ole Miss. I mean, there were times when Horace Spencer did everything he could do, whether it be on his ball screen coverage, rolling down into front of the post, checking out Ole Miss's big kid, and he's just 6 inches taller and 50 to 70 pounds heavier, and the ball bounces a certain way, and he gets the ball and puts it back on Horace. Horace did everything he possibly could do to defend him, and that'll happen against some of the biggest guys in our league. It'll just happen. But Horace will really work hard to defend and put himself in the right positions and be physical. Anthony, with his ability to just change, intimidate, and block shots, as well as his ability to cover, makes those two pretty effective inside defenders. But there are going to be nights when size and length bothers us. It bothered us against Temple. It bothered us against Alabama. Those are two of our losses. We played big team in Missouri, and it didn't bother us as much against Missouri on that night. So it's, now we've got some teams coming in with some real size as we continue to progress through the season, and we'll see how it affects us.
Bruce, we've asked you this before. Why is this league so much better than it has been in the past? Is it just because schools are investing in the infrastructure and in the coaches?
Yeah, I think it started with Mike Slive 4 or 5 years ago, bringing his athletic directors together. Jay Jacobs tells a story all the time. He said, basically, guys, we're the best in everything except men's basketball. And he challenged the ADs to retain and recruit the best coaches they could find, to invest in facilities with the resources that we have from the SEC, to obviously create a student-athlete experience that is going to be better for people who want to come to play basketball in our league. And so, and I think as a result, last year you saw 3 teams getting to the Elite Eight, with South Carolina getting to the Final Four. I've always, I had said to Mr. Slive many, many years ago when I first got to Tennessee that what makes the ACC, or has made the ACC historically such a great basketball conference, everybody can look at Duke and North Carolina, or look at SEC and just look at Kentucky, but when Billy Donovan was at Florida, or when we had it going at Tennessee, or when Stallings was good at Vanderbilt, or whatever it was, whatever combination, when Arkansas was good and LSU different, it was the depth and breadth that made the quality of the league. So if you look at the ACC, North Carolina State has made their runs. Gary Williams at Maryland has made his runs. Wake Forest with Tim Duncan's have made their runs. There have been times Georgia Tech's been in the Final Four. I mean, there's not, Leonard at Florida State. I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but it is the Miami now and their resurgence. I mean, so what is making our league so good is, I've always talked about it, and I've said it all year long. I've said bottom to top. I'm not the first guy to say it, or I may have been one of the first guys to say it. I wasn't saying top to bottom. I said bottom to top. This could be the best league in the country. And when Vanderbilt goes and beats TCU, a TCU team that is definitely going to be playing in the tournament and probably winning games in the tournament, and they got beat by what was our last place team. Just tells you how good the league is. And again, for us last year in the Big 12, for Auburn to have finished 11th in the league last year, and yet Auburn has had the best non-conference record in the SEC combined the last 2 years. Our record the last 2 years. So that's the other thing about, for me, everybody's talking about we're having a good year, we're off to a good start. Yeah, but it's been building. We made progress last year. We're probably a couple wins short of being in the postseason, which is where we wanted to be, but we weren't there. But this has been something that we've been building towards.